Hello, everybody. I'm Matt Rising. I want to wish you all a happy Mother's Day. Sorry we can't do the truth this week, but we're gonna do a new. We're gonna do a special. Welcome to Matt Rising's neighborhood. I want to show you why. I want to give you a little testimony about my life. So, sorry for this. I want to give you a little testimony of my life. I was born on July 30th of the year 1999. And when I was a little kid, when I was an infant, I had RSV. During the turn of the year, I still had RSV, but actually it was the turn of the millennia. But it's you get the picture. I want to share a verse with you. I want to share a verse with you about honoring your mother and father. So, again, I'm going to be reading this out of the King James Version. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. I'm going to read Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. And I'm going to be reading this in the King James Version. But you could read your version too. I'm just going to use the King James as my go-to right now. I get it on my tablet. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. That is one of the 10 Commandments right there. Honor thy mother and thy father. Honor thy mother and thy father. I want to tell you that, about my mother this decade. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to have to. When we moved to New Caney in 2020, my mother went to the hospital for a COPD flare-up. She was in the hospital. I visited her. She was in the hospital for a few days, but I prayed for her. We prayed for her, and she was healed. And then she came back to me. And then the second hospital trip, my mother's second hospital trip was when she had a mild stroke. And she was in the hospital for a few days. We prayed. Again, we prayed for her. And she was healed. She got healed. And then the third and longest hospital trip was when my mother went to the bathroom and was on the floor, too weak to get up, and it was time for her to go to the hospital. And then she had she had COVID and pneumonia, and we prayed for her. It was the longest hospital stay. When my dad was out of control, and I couldn't stay in New Caney any longer, and that's when my sister Holly took me. And I moved to her house before I moved to her house after but before Holly took me to her house. Holly had to call 911 because my dad was not only mentally unhealthy, but he had COVID, and they took my dad to the hospital, and then my dad my dad had to go to the hospital because he had COVID. And then but my mother stayed there the longest. Dad got out of the hospital, but my mother stayed there the longest. I visited my dad. When Holly took me, I had to visit my dad in that trailer in New Caney, and my dad missed me so much, and he wanted to see me, and then I had to take Dad to get a new phone because his phone was hacked, apparently. But he had not a new phone, but he had to get his phone fixed. And then I had to visit my mother in the hospital. She was still in the ICU, but we had to give her a blanket and some food. And she was still in the ICU, but she and then we managed to talk to her, and then when we got back from the Houston area to Holly's house, that was we had a good time there. We had and then when it was about time when my mother was released, February or March of 2022, my mother was brought home. She had to recover, and she recovered, but she was still weak, but she was getting stronger. And If you're watching this, I love you, Mom. I love you, Mother. And then we stayed at Holly's, my sister Holly's, for until August, in July on my birthday, my brother Charles stole my dad's truck and his belongings, and he escaped. He tried to escape, but he went to jail. And he still is in jail. And my brother still is in jail. My oldest brother. But, and then until August, my dad was getting sick. He had to go to the hospital. We had to move back here. We went to a hotel room. We booked, but that night when we moved from Holly's to Aransas Pass, we couldn't book in for a hotel room in the same hotel Dad was in, so we had to book for a room at Pelican Inn, and it was a pretty good hotel, but and then the next morning, we booked in for. We got a room at Anchor Courts in the same city. My dad was sick, and then that night after the first night we were in that same motel that my landlord gave us. My dad went to the hospital. My mom had to call an ambulance. And my dad went to the hospital for a few days, and then the first time I went to church again that year was when I moved to Agape. It was when I went back to Agape after over 10 years. At the same church my sister went back 10 years about that time. But then my sister didn't. My sister quit going to Agape because she didn't. I don't know why, but she doesn't go to Agape anymore. So we had to go, and then we had to move to. We had to get another hotel room, but this time it's more of a cottage and it's more of a tiny house than a motel room. But it was a motel room. It was a schooner motel. But before we moved, we got stopped by police. We got stopped by a cop. My uncle, me and my uncle were pulled over by a cop, and The reason why he was pulled over is because he drove on the wrong side of the road. The reason my uncle was pulled over is because he drove on the wrong side of the road, and he had to go to court. But we managed to move in. And that was the first part. We stayed there until October, and my dad came home, and he was wearing that disposable clothing that the hospital gave him to go home with. And we stayed there until October. But one night, when we stayed at that Schooner Motel, my mother was sick, really, really sick. She couldn't get up. She had but she's okay. But she managed to she managed to sleep, and then she woke back up, and she told me that she thought she felt like she was gonna have to go to the hospital, but she didn't, and so she recovered, and she felt better, and her ear was messed up, and we had to move to, and then we moved to, and then October we moved here. This is, and then we continue to live together. My mom still lives to this day. To this day, my mom still lives. And I still have my mother. And to this day, both my parents are still alive. And God healed my family, and I just can't thank Him enough for healing my mother, and I thank God for my mother, and I thank God for my mother, and I thank her for taking care of me, and she did a pretty good job. I was a spoiled kid, but she did a good job. I love you, Mother. And friends, I want to conclude this by saying simply this. No matter what circumstances you go through, God is still in control. God still heals. And I believe in God's healing power. Because my God is awesome. He's amazing. And I just can't thank Him enough for helping us go through the hard times of our lives. thank you for watching, and until next time, until next week, may the Lord bless you. And remember that the Bible says in John 8:32, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. God bless you, and have an amazing week. And happy Mother's Day to you all. God bless you.